Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today is Tuesday, April 25th, 2023, Shashti. And Madhusudana Mas, 537 Gorabda. And today we're reading from Canto 5, Chapter 5, verse number 1. Chapter is entitled The Lord Rshabhadeva's Teachings. And because this is the first text, the start of the chapter, and I'll read through the chapter summary. Okay. Lord Rshabhadeva's teachings to his sons. In this chapter, there's a description of Bhagavat Dharma, religious principles in devotional service that transcend religious principles for liberation and the mitigation of material misery. It is stated in this chapter that a human being should not work hard like dogs and hogs for sense gratification. The human life is especially meant for the revival of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And to this end, all kinds of austerities and penances should be accepted. By austere activities, one's heart can be cleansed of material contamination, and as a result, one can be situated on the spiritual platform. To attain this perfection, one has to take shelter of a devotee and serve him. Then the door of liberation will be open. Those who are materially attached to women and sense gratification gradually become entangled in material consciousness and suffer the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. Those who are engaged in the general welfare of all and who are not attached to children and family are called Mahatmas. Those who are engaged in sense gratification, who act piously or impiously, cannot understand the purpose of the soul. Therefore, they should approach a highly elevated devotee and accept him as a spiritual master. By his association, one will be able to understand the purpose of life. Under the instructions of such a spiritual master, one can attain devotional service to the Lord, detachment from material things, and tolerance from material miseries and distress. One can then see all living entities equally, and one becomes very eager to know about transcendental subject matters. Endeavoring persistently for the satisfaction of Krishna, one becomes detached from wife, children, and home. He is not interested in wasting time. In this way, one becomes self-realized. A person advanced in spiritual knowledge does not engage anyone in material activity. And one who cannot deliver another person by instructing him in devotional service should not become a spiritual master, father, mother, demigod, or husband. Instructing his 100 sons, Lord Rshabhadeva advised them to accept their eldest brother, Bharat, as their guide and Lord, and thereby serve him. Of all living entities, the Brahmanas are the best, and above the Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas are situated in an even better position. Serving a Vaishnava means serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, Sukadeva Goswami describes the characteristics of Bharat Maharaj and the sacrificial performance executed by Lord Rshabhadeva for the instruction of the general populace. Okay. Okay. All right. So it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, but so apparently this eldest son of Rishabhadeva, named Bharat, who was appointed as the guide for the other 100 sons. So that's the Bharat Maharaj that we know, the whole deer pastime, and that's coming up in this chapter. So, anyways, if you didn't know, now you know that Bharat Maharaj is the eldest son of Rishabhadeva. Okay, so I feel like this is now, there's been a lot of background to this pastime of Lord Rishabhadeva, his characteristics and whatnot, and now we're kind of getting into the famous teachings of Lord Rshabhadeva. Many famous verses in this chapter, and today's verse is definitely a very famous one. So text 1, again, we're on the 5th canto, chapter 5. This is Lord Rishabhadev's teachings. Rishabha uvacha nayam deha bhajam niloke kastan kamam arhate vid bhujamye tapo devyam putraka yena sadvam sugye yasma brahma sakyam tvanantam. Okay, so word for word, Rishabha uvacha, Lord Rishabhadev said, not, I am this, deha, body, deha bhajam, of all living entities who have accepted material bodies, niloke, in this world, kastan, troublesome, kaman, sense gratification, arhate, deserves, vit bhujam, of stool eaters, ye, which, tapa, austerity and penance, divyam, divine, putraka, my dear sons, yena, by which, sadvam, the heart, sud yet, becomes purified, yasmat, from which, brahma sakyam, spiritual happiness too, certainly, anantam, unending. Okay. So, translation. Lord Rishabhadev told his sons, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard and day. All right, okay. Well, let me start over. My dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified. And when one attains this position, he attains eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. Beyond material happiness. Okay, so purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this verse, Lord Rishabhadev tells his sons about the importance of human life. The word deha bhak refers to anyone who accepts a material body, but the living entity who is awarded the human form must act differently from animals. Animals, like dogs and hogs, enjoy sense gratification by eating stool. After undergoing severe hardships all day, human beings are trying to enjoy themselves at night by eating, drinking, having sex, and sleeping. At the same time, they have to properly defend themselves. However, this is not human civilization. So just stopping real quick. So this is not, okay, maybe I'll just say the quick prayers to hopefully invoke the blessings of the Lord and his associates. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshuan Militam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tatati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagajatan Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I kind of messed up the flow there of the purport. I just, before I started saying anything, wanted to do that quick prayer. And I just thought this was very interesting point, that this is not human civilization. So Prabhupada's making the point that living only for sense gratification is not human civilization. So as we're hearing that, human beings have a great responsibility, and because of that great responsibility, there's a whole social system set up to take advantage of what's afforded by the human body. And the human body, it's such a rare, it's a very rare occurrence to take birth as a human being. There's that example of if there's a piece of plywood floating in the ocean and it has a little hole in it, and if a turtle were to get its head stuck in that little hole, that's a pretty rare occasion, right? So also attaining this human form of life is also very rare. It's like, you hear of like so many people, they start off playing basketball and stuff as kids, but how many of them actually get to the NBA, right? So it's very, 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 very small percentage. So similarly, congratulations, we've made it to the NBA of professional league of species on this earth, and with that comes a great responsibility, and therefore it's therefore that's why it's so sad when the human form of life is not being taken advantage of, and when you have leaders of societies just propagating ways of life that are non-different from human life, then this is a very a tragic thing. Like when Srila Prabhupada saw these old men wasting their time golfing. Generally, if you're not trained in spiritual life, you go by golf course and see these old guys, in their nice outfits and golfing on this nice golf range with their little cart and all that. And you think, wow, what a great sight. These guys are really living up life, But it's actually, it's very, very sad, because they're completely wasting all their intellectual abilities as to how to attain complete happiness and complete bliss and freedom from misery. What are they spending it doing? Hitting a little ball into a hole. So it's like, and I mean, there's no different. Sometimes you see a mouse or a cat with a little ball of yarn, and the cat is playing with it, and so there's just it's a complete waste of time. And unfortunately, modern civilization is just perpetuating this passion and ignorance. Through not guiding society based on the scriptures. It's just, because generally in civilized life means curbing these tendencies. So there are certain rules and regulations in place to curb all this. So like, Vaishyas are in passion and ignorance, and so their tendency is to expand. That's a Vaishya's tendency, is to want to expand more and more and more and more. More. If they're real Vaishyas, more cows to protect. But we see that, more buildings, more this, more that, more profit. But if the Vaishya is not checked by the religious principles that, no, you're not allowed to kind of make a profit beyond this point, then they'll just exploit like anything. And who are they exploiting? Mainly they're exploiting the Sudras, who are less intelligent and kind of who generally take shelter of these higher classes of beings in order to properly guide them, and because the Sudra, this tendency is generally towards sense gratification, like that. The Sudra just wants comfort, and if they're just being exploited by the Vaishyas, then then they'll want to elicit this passion, ignorance, because then the Sudras will want to just buy more and more and just have uncontrolled senses, and that's great. Now you have uncontrolled senses, so now I have my basis for making my money. So like this. So anyways, all the different varnas, there's certain regulations to check the propensity to kind of fall into the lower modes of nature. And so that's why real human civilization is to guide society in that way. Okay. So in other words, as my Guru Maharaj says, we don't have a human civilization, and the more we realize this, the more that we'll not have faith in it, and we'll see. We'll look for something. We'll look for a better alternative, and we should lose our attachments for this so-called civilization. So I know my Guru Maharaj, he stresses this point a lot in classes, that we don't have a human civilization now, and we should become more and more conscious of that. Okay, so moving on here. Human life means voluntarily practicing suffering for the advancement of spiritual life. There is, of course, suffering in the lives of animals and plants, which are suffering due to their past misdeeds. However, human beings should voluntarily accept suffering in the form of austerities and penances in order to attain the divine life. After attaining the divine life, one can enjoy happiness eternally. After all, every living entity is trying to enjoy happiness. But as long as one is encaged in the material body, he has to suffer different kinds of miseries. A higher sense is present in the human form. We should act according to superior advice in order to attain eternal happiness and go back to Godhead. So that's a nice sentence. We should act according to superior advice in order to attain eternal happiness. So you don't have to speculate about what's best, what's the best way to live. Even you don't have to speculate on, should I do this or that? Of course, if you're little things, yeah, okay, whatever, speculate what color toothbrush to buy. But generally, this is why the spiritual master is there to guide one. To guide one in one's life so that one can stay spiritually fit. So one should not be shy to share with the spiritual master. I've heard the analogy given that the spiritual master is like the GPS. It can guide you, but if the spiritual master doesn't know the coordinates, if the GPS doesn't know the coordinates, where your car is located, then it doesn't know where to guide you. So similarly, if the spiritual master, so similarly, in spiritual life, it depends on our guidance, depends on our willingness to reveal our heart to our guru, and in that way gain guidance. Because or else, I don't know how are they supposed to guide you? And of course, they can get some guidance from Krishna how to, but I think it would make their life easier if we just told them that, yes, Guru Maharaj, this is my situation. How can I best advance? And even when you don't think things are going well, even when you think things are not so bad, can also be guided like that. So I was on a walk in Vrindavan with one sannyasi, and he was mentioning how it's good if you message your spiritual master once a month and just give him an update about life, and then the spiritual master can guide accordingly. Of course, sometimes I would be reluctant to do that because I would a few times when I did send this update, my life would be completely turned upside down, and next thing you know, I'm whatever in New York or luckily sometimes places like Gitanagari. So you never know what's going to happen when you reveal your heart to the spiritual master. But as it's said here, we should act according to superior advice in order to attain eternal happiness and go back to Godhead. Okay, continuing on the purport. It is significant in this verse that the government and the natural guardian, the father, should educate subordinates and raise them to Krishna consciousness. Devoid of Krishna consciousness, every living being suffers in this cycle of birth and death perpetually. To relieve them from this bondage and enable them to become blissful and happy, Bhakti Yoga should be taught. A foolish civilization neglects to teach people how to rise to the platform of Bhakti Yoga. Without Krishna consciousness, a person is no better than a hog or a dog. Whoa. Without Krishna consciousness, a person is no better than a hog or a dog. But they look so happy. But they look, okay, this is me talking now. But they look so happy, and they look like they're so well off, and this nice car, and like that. But what's they're just simply living to meet the demands of the body. So what is so glorious about that? Like, does anyone, when they see a mouse, do you think like, wow, what amazing life this mouse has, such a glorious existence. This mouse is just like just so admirable. And no, you're thinking like, all right, whatever, this mouse, all right, just does what it does, and not much to it. So I meant, so that's similarly in human life. It's any life form is, if that's all their if that's all the human life form of life human is doing, and there's not much grandeur to it. So I remember, in Sankirtan, I met this guy at one college, and I approached him with the books, and I was talking about the meaning of life, and he said, I think the meaning of life, my purpose in life, is to raise a family. And when you read Prabhupada's books, you just you hear something like this, and I just of course it's sad, but because of my lack of compassion, I had to hold myself from just bursting out laughing, because this person just thought, my whole existence purpose for this life is to pretty much just to do the same thing that a squirrel does. I know, the squirrel, he's raising a family and feeding the, teaching the squirrels the ways of being a squirrel, and whatever, has his squirrel wives. But like I said, there's no one looks at this as like such a admirable act. So now you've been given higher intelligence, and it should be mentioned also that if you watch an animal, the animals are suffering. Some people say, oh, I wouldn't mind taking birth as a squirrel or this or that. But these animals are just suffering like anything. They're just in constant, you see them, they're just looking around in constant anxiety. Like I was walking on this trail the other day, and I was thinking, wow, I can just like walk down this trail, just like relax, heart rate low, just looking around. But any other animal, if it's walking out in the forest like this, no, it's like constantly just looking around in anxiety. So how often? So for us, we're not in this situation so often, when we're just like on edge, and maybe sometimes if you're, I don't know, walking through a really bad neighborhood, or I don't know, it's not so often that we're just kind of walking around like thinking, oh my God, I could die any moment. But just think for a moment. If you were to go to the worst neighborhood in all of the world, and you, as an out of place person with as you are, presentable human being with some wealth. Yeah, you had to walk like 500 yards or 100 yards in this terrible neighborhood in the middle of the night. How would you feel? You'd be in complete anxiety, right? You'd just be like, every step would just seem like a mile. But so this is what the animals are living like, and you can see, just watch an animal go out. Yeah, so it's not a very nice life, the animal life. Going back to my friend that I met on Sankirtan, yeah, so now he's thinking that the goal of my life is just to live like this, is just to do the same things that these animals are doing. So of course, if you live like that, then you're gonna unfortunately take a birth in that in a form to do these things, and you're just missing out. You have higher intelligence. Someone is coming up to you, telling you, my friend, you can get free from all miseries right now. Just take a look at these books. I don't want anything from you. Okay, maybe I want a little donation, but I'm not like, I'm not, this obviously not an exploitative affair. Yeah, I mean, obviously these are big books here. Yeah. So, and you can actually get free from all miseries. But no, I'm okay. So yeah, this is not using your human form of life properly, not using your developed intelligence properly. Okay. So moving on in the purport. Okay, the instructions of Rshabhadeva are very essential at the present moment. And I think this present moment has only gotten more present. Yeah, it's more essential now. People are being educated and trained to work very hard for sense gratification, and there's no sublime aim in life. A man travels to earn his livelihood, leaving home early in the morning, catching a local train, and being packed in a compartment. He has to stand for an hour or two in order to reach his place of business. Then again, he takes a bus to get to the office. At the office, he works hard from 9 to 5. Then he takes 2 or 3 hours to return home. After eating, he has sex and goes to sleep. For all this hardship, his only happiness is a little sex. Yanmai tunadi grihamedi sukam hituksham. Rshabhadeva clearly states that human life is not meant for this kind of existence, which is enjoyed even by hogs and dogs. Indeed, dogs and hogs do not have to work so hard for sex. A human being should try to live in a different way and should not try to imitate dogs and hogs. The alternative is mentioned. The human life is meant for tapasya, austerity, and penance. By tapasya, one can get out of the material clutches. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, devotional service, his happiness is guaranteed eternally. By taking to bhakti yoga devotional service, one's existence is purified. The living entity is seeking happiness life after life. He can make a solution to all his problems simply by practicing bhakti yoga. Excuse me. Then he immediately becomes eligible to return home back to Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetitattvataha takta deham punar janma naitimam eti swarjuna. Quote, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So on this last point, okay, yeah. So one is meant to do in the human form of life. One should do voluntary austerity. But of course, as it's said in the verse, this is tapo divyam, divine austerity. So there are austerities in different modes of nature, like austerity and penance. So like, Prabhupada makes the point that just fasting for the sake of some political means, this is I think maybe in ignorance, like torturing the body. This is in whatever, it's in passion, it's austerity and passion or ignorance. So this austerity also requires guidance to do tapo divyam, not unnecessary austerity. Like I remember one time we were here in the back of the ashram and it was snowing, and so one devotee decided to like jump out in the snow and start just like, I don't know, making sand angels or something. And Dhruva Maharaj, she goes, this is unnecessary austerity. So like that. We don't want to do fruitless austerity. We want to do tapo divyam, so the austerities that will actually elevate one. And so these of course, one aspect of, well, let me just look. I got the Gita here, and the 17th chapter, we have the different, of course, it's mentioned 17th chapter, divisions of faith. So it's talking about like foods one eats, austerities, charity, like that. And it's classifying these things in the different modes. So austerity and penance is not recommended in the scriptures. Performed out of pride and egoism and impelled by lust and attachment, who torture the material elements of the body as well as the super soul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. And then the austere, like charity at an impure place at improper time to unworthy persons. This is charity in the mode of ignorance. And charity done for some expectation of return or in a grudging mood is in the mode of passion. So we want to do these things in the mode of goodness, like charity in goodness is done out of duty without expectation of return at a proper time and place and to worthy persons. That's in the mode of goodness. Penance, similarly, penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect is in the mode of passion. So like this. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Penance performed out of foolishness, with self-torture or to destroy or injure others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So you can see, not all penances are created equally. Even, Prabhupada says in the description of one of these that giving, just giving charity to like someone because they're poor, that's actually not recommended. And then at the end of this 17th chapter, the point is being made that all sacrifice and charity should be meant for Om Tat Sat, which indicates the Supreme. So like this, all these things that we do charity, they should all be aimed at the Supreme ultimately. And Prabhupada's saying, acts should be performed for the ultimate gain of being transferred to the spiritual kingdom, back to whom? Back to Godhead. Yeah. So this is Tapo Divyam. And of course, things are recommended like fasting on the appearance of the Lord's incarnations and his devotees. Fasting on Ekadasi. These things are recommended austerities and penances. And following the 4 regulated principles like this. Prabhupada said just to wake up and take a shower in the morning, even though that might seem austere. This is not austere. This is just human life. But austerity, austerity is to do these other things. What was I going to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, well, okay, sorry, I just wanted to make a point about this last part of the purport. So this point is, so there's kind of like some indication of the Bhakti Yoga process here at the end. By taking Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, then one's existence is purified. And the living, and so by taking to the Bhakti Yoga process, then gradually one's existence becomes purified, and of course, as we know, Bhakti Mama Vichanati Yavanyas Chashmitataha, that Krishna is saying one can only know me through this devotional service. So the more one engages in devotional service, and the more one engages in the austerities and penances, then as it's saying, then he can make a solution to all his problems, by practicing this Bhakti Yoga. So Prabhupada saying simply by practicing this Bhakti Yoga, all problems can be solved. And then Janma Karma Chamedivyam, then one will, by dint of one's pure heart and by dint of engaging in devotional service to Krishna, which becomes more and more unmotivated as our practice continues, then one will actually know Krishna. And just real quick, I was just listening to a lecture of His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj yesterday, and he was saying about this the austerity in preaching, and he was saying I wonder, he was talking to some devotees in New Zealand, saying, I wonder who will. He's saying it's my great desire that some of you will live in such a way that they really are want to be compassionate to others, and go through, go out of compassion, go through the austerities of what it takes to actually end people's miseries. And anyways, it was a just very powerful lecture to hear. And of course, we know that in this age, this is the Yuga Dharma is Sankirtan, so spreading the glories of the Lord and involving more and more people in the vibrating of the glorification of the Lord. So yeah, the austerity in this, though this is kind of the austerity in this age is to bring people into Krishna consciousness and or whatever, just do things to facilitate the further expanding of this hearing and chanting. And as Vaisheshika Prabhu says that, in past yugas, people would, meditate underwater and do all sorts of crazy, expensive rituals. But in this age of Kali, the austerity is getting along with each other and cooperating. So of course, Prabhupada said that you show your love for me by how much you cooperate. And yes, the Sankirtan, like I said, the prefix of Sankirtan is means like kirtan with people. So in this way, cooperation is necessary, and learning how to work with each other and go. This is our tapo divyam, going through the austerity of willing to work with others for a greater cause, and not just, I just want to live, get my own little comfortable situation, live my own comfortable Krishna conscious life, so-called Krishna conscious life. Where's the austerity in this? Of course, okay, that's great. You're getting up, chanting and like this, following the 4 regular principles. But we should see that this is the Yuga Dharma, spreading these Sankirtan mission, and this is how we can please the parampara. This is what Prabhupada wanted. This is what our spiritual masters want, for us to assist them in spreading this Krishna consciousness. And that takes cooperation, and all the austerity, and it's intense. It's intense, but that's the Yuga Dharma. So, anyways, I guess that's my final message. The practical application of all this, just us getting along and working together is the austerity of this age. All right, so if anyone's still alive out there, and if anyone has anything to add, can do so now. It's going to be a wonderful section, this chapter. So many nice verses. Okay. Nunam pramate krite vikarma. Yep, a lot of nice verses coming up. Okay, if there's nothing.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Taraka Prabhu, I think.
Yes, there's always something. You mentioned Varna and Ashram earlier in your discussion. I was reminded of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, text 8. Dharma Svanustita Pumsam Vivakshina Ashuga Atparayet Yatiratim Shrama Evihi Kevalam. That if one executes the occupational duties of Varna and Ashram, but does not cultivate his dormant Krishna consciousness, his activities are futile. His occupation simply becomes unnecessary labor. Another thought I had, you were talking about the charity, the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, the mode of goodness. And giving charity to the poor, it may surprise you to know that Srila Prabhupada actually would not hesitate to give charity to the poor. And he frequently did this on morning walks. He would encounter sometimes beggars in India or all over. So sometimes he would encounter beggars, and he would make a point of be walking along with his disciples, and as an example to them, he would point of setting the example of offering something to those beggars. Not much, usually just like a 25 pice coin. So not very much, but it would be significant for the beggars. But in any case, he would not ignore them or just blow them off. He would fail to offer a little something.
So how do we understand that? Because I read clearly the other day in the 17th chapter, Prabhupada says there will be no benefit by giving to the poor.
Yeah, it's true. There is not really any great materially it's a pious act, but giving to the poor is not particularly beneficial. Nonetheless, Srila Prabhupada would do that just to demonstrate that we should have compassion for these individuals who, in these instances, these are people who are actually hungry. They're unable to feed themselves. And so the benefit in this case, there's several aspects. One is that he was demonstrating that as devotees we should be compassionate towards these individuals. In addition to that, by offering a little charity, not much, but just a little something, that would impress the beggars, and it would evoke warm sentiments from the beggars, and particularly for them to have appreciation for Srila Prabhupada, Krishna's pure devotee. The beggars would derive great benefit. They would make spiritual advance by appreciating how kind this sadhu is. So, there's that. We, as devotees, representatives of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and the group, don't want to appear to be callous and indifferent to those who are suffering. A Vaishnava is supposed to be compassionate, and and it should be seen practically how we are compassionate. Of course, we offer the greatest charity by offering people Krishna consciousness, but when practically somebody can't even feed themselves, they're going to be so distressed that they really will not be able to appreciate anything about Krishna consciousness. They're going to be preoccupied with the need to feed themselves. So, Srila Prabhupada, in Mayapur, for example, Srila Prabhupada established a program of feeding the local people who were generally very poor. And so on a regular basis, daily, he would have the devotees distributing khichdi to all of the locals. And published this in many other temples also. And he gave us the instruction that ideally, no one within a 10-mile radius of our temple should go hungry. Everyone should have access to sufficient prasad, that no one should be hungry. So it's practical on the one hand, and it's also perfect PR, perfect public relations, which is helpful to us, and it's helpful to the recipients as well. They derive benefit by appreciating the devotees.
Mm.
So there's that. I don't know how much time we have before their lordships appear, but I would really appreciate it if, in whatever remaining time there is, you could tell me something about your activities in the garden. I understand wonderful things are happening, and I'd love to hear about that. It's a service very dear to me.
Well, it's a learning experience, but yeah, things are going on. I don't know. Yeah, we're just finding ways to, of course, the peacocks for, yeah, of course, last year we found that the peacocks like little seedlings, or they like the vegetables in general, but especially when they're in the seedling stage, when they come to take one bite, then they just will take out the whole plant. So so we learned that the hard way last year. So this year, yeah, I've been very diligent to just cover all the rows with this white row cover, which is a total hassle because you have to like put the sandbags to cover the rows, and it's windy out there, so it's quite intense. And I was starting to think, well, is this necessary? But then, sure enough, we were out there yesterday, and at sunset, the peacocks, somehow the word got out, and whatever peacock podcast, and now all the peacocks know that there's a bunch of vegetables there. So we could see yesterday at sunset, they just all started coming from all angles. And but of course we were doing our due diligence by covering all the rows, so we were able to prevent them from coming in. Yeah, of course the frost kind of, some of the plants weren't so happy about that, but because we ran out of this covering yesterday. So but anyways, we got them covered up. I don't think we lost anything. Well, of course we lost a few basil plants, but they weren't looking so good anyways. But on a positive note, I'll say something positive now, because that was maybe not so positive. We have a group from Florida, 8 students coming for a week. And so they're going to be helping out a few hours every day in the garden. So it's nice, it's somehow by Krishna's arrangement we're moving along, and kind of through these retreats and the volunteer help we get through the retreats, and like this alternative spring break program where colleges actually pay us to host students who do service, so they're paying to come here and do service. Things are getting done in the absence of having like a 4-person full-time dedicated crew to the garden. And then we have a few volunteers that will come, I think late May, to help out, for the whole summer. So that's nice. We did their interviews, and nice ladies. So yeah, it's going along, and gotta direct seed some carrots and radishes very soon here. So let's see. It's all in the beginning stages.
Tell me about quantities. How much have you got in the ground?
Well, now we have about, I think we have about around 1,400 foot beds planted now. And we're gonna have when the season is in full swing, there'll be I don't know, like I'll have like at least 50 beds, something like that. So it'll be it'll be looking quite nice. So
I understand there were some students helping just recently.
Some students. They were actually a suicide hotline. They were Penn State students, but they volunteered. They were volunteers as for this suicide hotline. They came out, and they were wonderful. They were like just had like this very youthful enthusiasm to them, and we're just very eager to get the job done. It was good. We planted about 7 or 8 rows, and seeded like around 75 trays, and so that was wonderful. That was a big help.
That's great. Thanks. I'm always enthusiastic to hear about these things.
Thank you, Brew. Thank you for your help, and yes. I'm very happy to be able to do this service, and this Krishna sending nice support. So we're very appreciative of all that. Okay, so I'll end there. There's some. Okay, cool. All right. They set up the temple computer. Okay, thank you all very much for your association. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada Kitanagari Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna.